All right, hi, I'm Raul, and I'm here at Westside Training Center in Los Angeles with Eric Flores. He is a Cobrinha blue belt here at the school, and maybe you don't know, but yeah, this is a Cobrinha affiliate school here in West Los Angeles. So that's our jiu-jitsu program that we have here. But what we want to talk about is some recent comments in an interview done by Keenan Cornelius regarding No Gi and how that has changed a lot. So there's going to be a lot of differences between gi and no gi.
But at black belt, you don't really see a lot of guard passes anymore from the high level guys. Whereas in the gi IBJJF competitions, you see the full gambit of positions from guard play. People get passed, people get their backs taken, people get choked, armbarred, leg locked. Everything's there. But in no gi, it seems like it's kind of imploding. That's why I say imploding. The game is what was out here. It's becoming more dense and smaller around leg locks and takedowns.
And leg locks and wrestling. We have a comment here, basically. So it's catch wrestling.
It's become submission, and it was ADCC has always been like this.
Right.
But the IBJJF rules from transferring into no gi sort of encouraged a more passing guard playing style, which I really liked because I like playing guard. But as the overall level and understanding of passing and being on top progresses, it's the inherent advantage of being on top is becoming more prevalent. So being on top of someone, you have gravity on your side, and that's a huge, huge advantage. And people are getting much better at taking advantage of that advantage. Mm-hmm. So people who like to play guard is actually becoming less effective in no gi, and to the point where you can't really play an effective guard in the sense of sweeping someone and getting on top with it. The guards that are effective now are guards that set up leg locks or set up takedowns. So like 90% of transitions you see in no gi are a leg lock position to sweep or a sweep attempt into like a single leg or double leg or something like that.
So Eric, what are some of your thoughts here?
Yeah, seeing the interview with Keenan, it was actually refreshing. It was confirmation because ever since I started my jiu-jitsu journey, which started some time ago, I always had been told you have to do the gi. You have to do the gi to evolve in this game, in this martial art. And last time I wore a gi was Taekwondo. Then I went to folk style wrestling in high school, and so just no gi always just seemed more natural. It was an easier transition. And I always just kind of stuck to my guns and in my whole journey, and any school I've been to, any coach I've had, and just respectfully declined and just stuck to no gi. And now hearing Keenan's comments, it just confirms everything I've ever kind of believed but didn't know how to articulate, or maybe was bold enough just to say out loud. But he's obviously a more credible guy to have a voice on it. So yeah, I just really enjoyed his interview and talking about where no gi's evolving to now, even at the higher levels of competition.
Yeah, so I think it wasn't just Keenan, but I've seen other like jiu-jitsu black belts. They talk about where it's like a lot of the tournaments that have points, they will kind of favor the top game anyway. Like, so say if you're on the bottom and you sweep someone, so you reverse them and all of a sudden you're on top, you get points for that, right?
Right.
You get points for sometimes even getting that takedown, or so it's all these like easy points that you could be getting where like you end up on top, or you're on top at the end of your attack, right? So I think it's always kind of been like that, but I guess like one of the things that Keenan was pointing out is that like if you are on top, you got a lot of things on your side, right?
Yeah.
Like not only can there be like a point advantage, but then also the physics advantage, right? The gravity, right? So, like having to bear another person's weight. If you're on the bottom, it's like, and if you're on your back facing up, you'd be pushing on them or trying to frame on them or whatever, and you get tired,
right?
Because it's not just pushing back a person; you're also like, you got the pressure of gravity kind of coming on you. So it's not just the weight, or like if they're on your side, if you're both on the side pushing someone off, it'll be less fatiguing than if they're on top of you for a while. Right. So you've been doing a lot of like work on like your bottom game, right? So like a jiu-jitsu style, like where you're on your back and stuff. Can you kind of tell us like some of the differences that you've been noticing, or how you've been learning that?
Yeah, I mean, I started out, of course, coming from wrestling. I started off just only top game, and I hate, like most wrestlers, I hated being on my back. I was definitely afraid of it, especially in competition when I was competing. and I didn't have a guard of any kind. Wasn't on the back at all, and I learned to be more comfortable even with way bigger opponents on top of me. So I kind of got away from my top game for a couple years, and I'm very grateful that the coaches have given me multiple guards for my back and being comfortable on the bottom. But I definitely was missing cross training with wrestling, and so coming back to catch wrestling from a couple years ago when I first met you, I definitely am getting more confident and comfortable again being on top, especially now rolling with the bigger guys. I heard a recent comment by Henry Cejudo, actually. He was teaching how to do takedowns with bigger opponents, and he just said, well, first of all, just being a smaller guy, you wouldn't want to be under a bigger guy because there's a lot of power there, there's a lot of force there. He said, so I'm going to show you some takedowns so that you're not so much underneath them. And I think even when you get to the ground, some probably watching this would argue, well, yeah, your jiu-jitsu should still be good enough, though, to be underneath. But why be a martyr? If you can kind of still have a different strategy, and if jiu-jitsu is all about a thinking sport, it's a thinking man sport, a thinking man game. Well, and I'm a super featherweight, by the way, so I compete at 137, and I'm 5'5", so I face guys who are 6'4", sometimes 300 pounds. I think I'm getting more confidence to be able to be more on top again, and so, like I said, why needlessly suffer and just put myself underneath the guy. Yeah. So it's been nice getting back to those wrestling roots of having more of a different mentality and looking for things that I would have looked for before.
Okay, so then since you mentioned your wrestling background and then you're studying catch wrestling as well, let's go ahead and talk about that. Where it's like we saw from the Cornelius interview, they even kind of threw out the term catch wrestling right during that interview where they're talking about it's kind of or at least No Gi's kind of starting to evolve to favor wrestling. Right. And Cornelius was saying that ADCC has always seemed to favor wrestlers anyway. But we do have a lot of people who are doing like folk style or freestyle. From your experience, you've done the folk style, and now you're learning more of the catch wrestling. There is that difference between those two styles too, right? And the catch wrestling has the submissions, so. I feel personally that's going to give you an even bigger advantage than an amateur folk style or freestyle background. But I think they're both excellent sports to do. But if you can use that, those wrestling fundamentals, and then have all these submission finishes, that's going to really give you an advantage.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. It's kind of like I think that. I was telling someone I was trying to go back to catch wrestling, and someone made the comment like, "Oh, so you're just going to be pulling stuff out of nowhere now? Like you're adding more tools to your tool belt. Anytime you cross train, it's great. I mean, even Cobrina himself, when he did his Super Grand Slam last year, I think in an interview with Flow Grappling, he actually gave credit to his wrestling coach. He was doing freestyle wrestling. I think he'd been wrestling for 6 to 8 years, cross training with wrestling. So it was cool because he does capoeira. And now he's doing wrestling to help round out his jiu-jitsu, and he's a high-level black belt, obviously. So yeah, it's a thing where even, for example, when I'm in someone's half guard, right away I'm thinking maybe to mount or just to get out of his half guard, and I'm looking at a jiu-jitsu perspective, but then even you were talking to me last week, a catch wrestling perspective, to start looking for double wrist locks from that position and not being so concerned that my leg is stuck in someone's half guard, that I actually can pull off a submission from that position, where in jiu-jitsu I want to maybe get out of that first and then start working a position to lead to a submission. But that's it's been pretty eye-opening and awesome about catch wrestling, is that I'm kind of seeing things that I didn't see before or I didn't even know was an option. So that's what's been pretty cool and exciting, is kind of putting more tools in my tool belt with catch wrestling. And also I'm finding myself finding a love again for wrestling, like back to my roots. And I'm very passionate about jiu-jitsu, but I'm also kind of finding that passion and fire again in wrestling.
Yeah, so I think that goes back to what you were saying, how you always had more of an affinity to No Gi, and I mean, I'm sure this can apply to gi as well, but I mean, I'm kind of agreeing with from that point of view, where it's like it does seem where it's like if we have more of these, even like submission only tournaments,
Right.
or even the catch wrestling tournaments where you have the pin and submission, there's like no points, then you're gonna have this more like pure, exciting version
Yeah.
of grappling, right? And because like personally, I believe like yeah, if you're adding points, then yeah, you're gonna be thinking about points. You're gonna be thinking like, oh man, I gotta pass the guard because maybe I can get points, or I gotta go to mount because of the points and stuff. And then
Yeah,
if you don't have to
exactly.
be, you're not putting that pressure on yourself, then you can just go for it. Try to get that guy down, submit them, whether it be like the ankle lock or the double wrist lock, or in catch wrestling we have the cross face, right? So these neck cranks and stuff. So uh, if we could be thinking in those ways, not like point strategy.
Right.
Yeah, that's exciting to me at least.
Yeah, I know you're exactly right. Sometimes you kind of confession, I think a lot of people would say sometimes you, because of that point system, you kind of even subconsciously, maybe even indirectly, you start thinking, well, I'm going to go into this tournament, this competition, not to lose, instead of going into it thinking, I'm going to go win, because the points, as long as I don't get submitted, I don't get finished, I can score some points, and then you can kind of just play it safe.
Yeah.
Not saying that anyone's a coward out there or is scared. I think anyone who shows up to the tournament's got some, confidence, obviously encourage the fact that they showed up. But yeah, like you said, with no point mentality, just pin and submission, you're just trying to go for the finish, and you take more risk, and you're not as cautious because you're not worried about, oh, 3 points here, and I got 4 points there. Now this guy's 2 points ahead of me, and you're just kind of playing that game instead.
Yeah. You're not giving yourself that stress.
Right.
All right. So if anybody wants to, because you're active on Instagram.
Yes, active on social media. So if you follow me on Instagram, actually, it'd be at Eric Flores Fitness.
All right. Okay. Cool. And then pretty soon you're going to be representing in New Zealand, right?
Right. I'm going to be at Lions Den MMA as the strength and conditioning coach, and I'm also going to be competing over there in Jiu-Jitsu, No Gi, in Australia and New Zealand, and hopefully a few other countries around there as well.
All right. Yeah. Hopefully we can meet up in Australia or New Zealand.
That'd be awesome. You come out and do a catch wrestling seminar, or meet up with the Kiwis in New Zealand.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Oh, man, I love it out there. So yeah, if anybody's seeing this out there, yeah, please bring us out, because we're already in Singapore and stuff. So love Australia, that whole area. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Coach, as always.
All right. See you later.
All right, see ya.